Hi guys, and welcome to the editing of the live stream from yesterday. Before showing you the recording, I wanted to point out that the part where we filter NSFW content from the Reddit API will not be in this recording, and that is because when I started the stream it was streaming at 720p, but my monitor is 144p, so showing you 720p content is just not going to be something that you're gonna like, because it's gonna look pixelated. It's not something that's gonna look good. But the code, however, is in the Discord support server in the hashtag Livestream channel. So if you want to check that out, join our Discord support server and you'll find the code of the NSFW filtering in our hashtag Livestream channel. Now let's get started with the live stream, and good luck, have fun. And the next thing we're going to talk about is music. And we're actually going to implement some music features, including play, pause, and skip. Now, don't expect me to go talk about this an hour long. We're going to keep this very simple, but it will work. And if you want to start this in a custom way, you can do that. But that will be your thing to do. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm very sorry. So we're going to talk about music. The first thing that we need for music is a library to actually, well, play the music, but also an external kind of program that you need in order to, well, play the music from YouTube. Now, in order to do so, you want to go to your browser, and here you want to search for Lava Link. And you want to open up the very first link that you can find from Frederickum, and this file is something we are going to need, Lava Link. And so go to releases over here in your GitHub repository. And then you want to download the latest version, so 3.3.2.1. And I'm going to copy this link and I'll post it inside of the stream real quick. So the next thing that I want to do is I want to download this file. Now this is a file of 37.9 megabytes. And my internet at this moment is not really nice, so I'm not going to download this for you. I just download this by yourself. I hope you guys have a bit more stable internet, and I'll wait a few seconds before continuing. So take your time to download this file, because this is one of the most important files that you're going to need, and it's also one of the only files that you're going to need. So when you've done this, what you want to do is you want to grab this file. Let me grab it real quick. You want to grab that file, the Lava Link file, and put it on some place that you like. I'm going to place it on my desktop. Just going to paste it right over here. Just make sure that you know where it is and that you can access it quickly if you need it, that kind of stuff. Now, another important thing that you want to do is go to your browser and go to and search for Java Java SE. Now, this jar file, of course, runs based upon Java. Java is the creator of, well, for example, jar files. If you are familiar with Minecraft servers, you'll know that the, I believe, server.jar is also a jar file, and that is all made by Java. So what you want to do is go to this link, which I'll again put in the chat so you can go to it yourself. And what you want to do is click on GDK download. Now, if I am not mistaken, that file should be a bit more bigger than the Lava Link file. So I'll again have to give you a bit download time. This is a 160 megabytes file if you're on Windows, and a 175 megabyte file if you're on macOS. So interesting. So someone says 400 KB per second download speed. Well, that's gonna take some time. Funny how last week some subreddit doesn't return API calls in an array, and now when I try it now, they return an array. Yeah, it's interesting. Ribs, I was indeed going to check which subreddit didn't really return anything. Apparently no subreddit did it. So I asked you, like, hey, could you join the Discord server and show me? But I guess they fixed it themselves, which is interesting. But in the meanwhile, please click on the download button of the GTK 15.0.1. And if I am not mistaken, it will download the installer. It should. And then when you've done that, it will download you this file, the GDK 15, and then the version of them, and installing. Okay, good. I'm happy. Don't run the lava link file, by the way. You don't want to run it. Please let me know if you did run it, because it's not something you want to do. But just make sure that you download this file and install it. Now, if you have installed this, and I will repeat it in a few minutes again, or no, in a few seconds, but if you did install this and you go to your CMD and say Java version, it should tell you Java version 15.0.1 and then the date. Now, I hope that I have the latest version. Nope, just the Java SE. Yeah, good job. That's the thing you should be doing. But if you have installed it, it should do or say this in CMD. Now, if it doesn't say this or gives you an older version, it might be because you didn't restart CMD yet. So just close it, run it again, execute the command again, and see if you have the version 15.0.1. It's the version that we're going to need in order to run this lava link file from the downloads folder. Okay, so I hope you guys were able to download the file. So the JDK 15.0.1. Okay, Mika says she has installed it. Or he or she. It's amazing. You should also download the lavalink.jar file by now. Again, if you did not do this yet, you can always just follow this live stream again. It's being recorded. It will be posted on YouTube again. So don't worry, no worries. It will be there. And well, just follow along if you did manage to install and download both the files. Now I'm going to continue. And I hope you succeeded in downloading and installing the required files. Now let's close these two pages. Now we have this lava link file. Put it in some place that you like and that you can remember it. It's really necessary because this file is going to allow us to get some song based upon YouTube and then pass it on to us so we can do something with it, run it or play it, pause it, that kind of stuff. So let's move on to Visual Studio Code. And for this, let's make a separate module. So we're going to go here, say add and class. And we're going to say, let's call this the music module. And as I mentioned before, what we also need is a library from C# that's able to do stuff with this music. And that one is going to be Victoria. So go to Tools, go to the NuGet Package Manager and go to Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. And in here, you want to search for Victoria. That one right over here. It's made by Yacht and it has around 30,000 downloads and it's currently on version 5.1.9. So make sure to download this version and then of course select the template project, not the infrastructure project or whatever you called this, and then click install. Now this might take a few seconds, but that's okay. It installed for me. I didn't get the license agreement message, but you might get it. Just make sure to accept it and then you can move on and download and install, of course, the library that we're going to need. Now, in order to use this library, if we go here to the project URL, there is a very nice URL that we can use in order to get some information about how we should use this. Now, I kind of know this on top of my head, but I don't want to make any mistakes. So the first thing that you always want to do with these kind of things is you want to add them to the service collection. Now the service collection is, if we go here to Visual Studio and we go to our program.cs, the service collection is this. We can configure these services and we can do whatever we like with them. Now if we go back to Chrome, my browser, it says we need to do this. We need to say .add lava node and then we can provide some options. And where is the NuGet thingy? Good question. Almost too late, but that's okay. You want to go to Tools, the NuGet Package Manager, and then the Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. And then, of course, download and install the library that we just installed. Now, when you've done this, let's go all the way up top here, just under the Add DB context. And what you want to do here is say .add, and I believe lava node. So add lava node. And then we're going to go back to the documentations. And what we want to do then is pass in our options. So this is optional because we're going to pass in some options that we like. Well, what you can do here is say add lava node and then an x and then a lambda expression and then a curly bracket just like that. And here we can pass in some options. For example, one of the options that you can set is whether or not the bot should mute itself, deafen itself, so it doesn't hear you when it joins a voice channel. And this can be done by saying .self def and then equals true. And there are also some other options that you can set over here. My bad about that, that's fine. You can also, for example, set the lock severity. You can set the host name, the SSL. You can all change all these kind of things if you like, but I'm now just gonna keep it to x.self-def is true. It's pretty cool if the bot deafens itself when it joins the channel. Now, if we go back to the documentation, there is also some information about what we need to do when our Discord bot is ready. So on the ready event, we want to do something different. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the command handler and we want to bind this event to our command handler. So let's copy this piece of code, go back to Visual Studio, and let's go back to our command handler, which is in services and then command handler. And then what we want to do here is paste the code that we just copied from the website. And of course, this will error because we did not do a dependency injection yet. So what we do here, we go all the way up to the top, and then we say private, read only, and then lava node, and then let's say underscore lava node. Now here you want to pass in it again. So we say lava node, and finally we say underscore lava node equals lava node. And then we can replace instance of lava node with underscore lava node and underscore lava node, just like that. So let's get rid of the comments. And I believe we can await this since it's an asynchronous task and an asynchronous function, so that's fine. And the final thing you want to do is say underscore client dot ready plus equals on ready async. So you just bind the event and that should work. Now we can go back to the documentation again and we can use some commands. So we can use these commands in our music module that we just created. So let's go back to our Visual Studio. Let's go back to the music module. Let's make it a public class and let's make it module base, just like that. And then the socket command context, just like the example module. It's the same that we do all the way up top right over here. I just want to do that too in the music module. Now in here, again, what we want to do is we want to have a private read-only lava node and an underscore lava node, and we want to inject it. So it's a public class music module, public music module, and then the lava node, and we say underscore lava node equals the lava node. So we use a dependency injection in order to use the lava node that we initiated earlier in the program.cs. Now in this we can go back to their main website, which is victoria.yacht.wtf, and if we go to this website and go to the examples that they have right over here, and let me paste the link of this website to you too. So I'm going to copy it and paste it right over here so you guys can also use that. Now in here there is some information about how to get started, and we are going to go to let's see what they have. I believe here they made a nice command in order to work with some stuff. Yeah, so we're going to copy the play command, which is right over here, and paste it right over here. And of course they use a different way of calling the lava node, I believe. Oh no, they call it the exact same way. Perfect. So what we want to do here is of course hover over task and say using system threading tasks. So we're going to use some tasks, and you want to hover over player state and say using victoria.enums, and then we should have no errors. Okay, and of course we want to have the join command, which we can copy from the getting started and then the setup. No, we can't. Get started. There we go. So we can copy also the join command, and then if we go right over here. So now what we have is both a join command and a play command, and let's use this and this. Okay, so before really running this without any explanation, so what we did is we injected the lava node, which is the library which we can use to join a channel or play some music and fetch it from the YouTube API. But what's important to know is that lava node sounds very familiar to lava link. And that is because lava node is actually a kind of thing that interacts with the lava link.jar file, which we have right over here. Now lava link, when you run this, it will create a kind of a server on your computer, which will then allow you to send requests to it, which is done by the library. So when we say, for example, lava node.join async, well, not that one, but for example, when we say, go a bit more down and say lava node.search async, that's actually sending a request to the lava link.jar file in order to search for some music on the internet. Now, also another important thing that we want to change here is instead of using search async, we're going to say search YouTube async. Now you could also use SoundCloud in this case. I'm going to use YouTube. I like YouTube a bit more than SoundCloud. And then you can just copy this code and try to do something with it and modify it to your liking. Now let's go over some stuff that happens. And something I don't like what it does is it loops over your query. I don't exactly know what the meaning was of all of this. It's splitting the query by a space and then loops over every single query it can find in it, but that's not something I want. The only thing that I wanted to do is just do this once, just based it on the query that we used earlier. So I'm going to get rid of this. We're just going to get rid of this for each loop, and then we also want to get rid of an extra curly bracket that we no longer need, and then let's indent this nicely. Now I just did that by using, let's go back, I just did that by using shift tab. So shift tab in order to go back, and tab in order to go forward. So for example, if I go tab, it goes forward. If I use shift tab, it goes backward. So I just use shift tab, and now it looks a bit better. Now, instead of using search query right over here, we can just replace this with query. And if we go a bit more down, we're going to replace the search query with query again. And now we actually have a play and a join command. And yeah, so what we do, the first thing that we do is we search YouTube based upon the query and then store it into a variable called search response. Now, if this search response has a load status of load failed or no matches, it means something happened or there were just simply no videos on YouTube with the query, which is rather unlikely to happen. But if that's the case, we want to say, hey, we couldn't find anything for you, please use something different. So we say this, we say wait, reply async, wasn't able to find anything for, and then the query. Now, if that isn't the case, if it was successfully, we want to fetch the player. Now the player is basically the music player of the library. So we want to get the player. For example, we have a player in, when you play music with this mod, you will have a player in the server, and then you can use the player to, for example, pause the music. So you can send a request like, hey, pause the music for a second, or you can skip a song. All those requests are being sent to the player, the music player. So we do that, we fetch the player. And now if the player state equals playing or it's being paused, then we want to add these songs to the queue, because we don't want to immediately start playing some other music. No, we want it to be queued. And then if that's fine, then we can actually, if that's not the case, I mean, so if there is no music in the queue, if there's no music being played, in that case, we can straight up start playing it. But if it's not the case, if we are playing music, we don't want to switch the music instantly. We just want to wait before the music ends and then play the next song. So here there's a few basic things that it does. For instance, what it does is we have the track that we just fetched from YouTube by using the search response.tracks. Because if you go to search response.tracks, there are actually a lot of tracks. Actually, I believe it stores about 10 videos in this. So you can call, for example, also the second result if you like. But we're just going to stick with the first result. And then it will pick the first video from all of the search results that were found on YouTube. Now, when you do that and you store this in a variable, you can check whether or not the playlist is actually there. Now, this is again done because of the queries, the for each loop that was done a bit more earlier, which is rather interesting. So what this does, I have no idea. I think this is not something we really want to do. I believe in the case that the track is actually part of a playlist, it will add all of the songs in the playlist to your queue. But that's not really something we want to do. So I'm going to get rid of this. Unless, of course, you want that to be the case, then you can keep it. But I'm going to get rid of it. And then, of course, Shift-Tab to nicely indent it. And we're also going to get rid of it right over here. Because, I don't know. I've actually never seen that. But, okay. So, now we have a working play and join command. And before continuing, it's important that we go back to our browser because we forgot to download the application.yml file. So open up your browser, and if we go back to the Lava Link repository, there is a need to add an application.yml file in the working directory. I am so stupid. So go to this repository. I'm going to post it inside of the chat. So let's go here. You want to go there, and then you want to copy, click on the raw button, and you want to copy this code, and then go to your Windows Explorer, and then right click it, say new, let's create a text file. And will this work? I don't think so. Hold up. Let's instead go to Visual Studio, and then let's right click our template project, and then say add new item. And doesn't really matter what you choose here, just pick a random one, and then we're going to call this application.yml, and then click on add. Now get rid of the code and paste the code that we copied from the website right over here. And to make things even more nicer, let's just get this folder that we have on our desktop and put it in our template folder. So we now also have lavalink.jar and the application.yml file inside the folder. So move it, the application.yml file, to the lavalink folder, so they're both in one folder. And I can close Windows Explorer. Let's make sure that we didn't do anything wrong. So let's go back here and run an application.yml working. Okay, so we did it correctly now. My bad, I apologize. So in this configuration file, you could choose to run the lavalink.jar file or on a different port or on a different address. And it also contains some interesting things like your password or some stuff. You don't need to adjust this. That's up for you. But if you like to adjust this or run on a different port or something else, you can just adjust it to your liking, and it will use this and then configure it. And then you can, well, use these different options that you picked. Now, if we go to our lavalink folder, you can right click it and then say open folder in File Explorer. And now if we run the lavalink file, it works, because as you can see, it created a logs folder, which means that it will also now send some logs. Now, if we open up the Spring file, you can also see that it contains some stuff that it did. It will tell you this stuff. And now if we, for example, look here, we can see on the toast started on port 2333. Which equals the port that we set right over here. Now, if we run our code now, and another interesting thing that you can see in this logs file, if we close it and then go back to here, now if you see this, it will say connection successfully established from, and then the local host IP address. This means that it's successfully connected, and now it will actually work. It should work, and if it's not working, I'll eat my shoe, but it will work. I promise. Now if we say lo-fi mix, yes, isn't that lovely? So my internet quality isn't really nice because I'm streaming, so the music might not have sounded that nice. But as you can see, if I join the voice channel, there is music playing. There's definitely some music playing. Now the quality is better on your own computer. It should be, if you have a bit better internet than me. So it should have decent quality. It should actually have a rather high quality in regards of the music. So let's continue. So we have a play command, and we also have a join command. And about the error that I just got from Visual Studio, you can completely ignore it. It's not really important. So we have a play command, and we have a skip command. We have a play command and we have a join command. Now another interesting thing that we also wanted to add is a pause and a skip command. So, well, let's implement that really quickly. So what we can do is go a bit more down. Let's make a new command, and let's call this command, well, skip. Skip is good for now. And let's call this public async task skip. And inside here, the first thing we of course want to check is if the user is even in a voice channel. And we can copy that simply by going right over here, by saying voice state and then the user. So copy that from right over there, go a bit more down, paste it in right here. And then you have this simple thing that's checking if the user is even in a voice channel. Now the other thing that we want to check is if the voice state, not voice channel, is the same as the voice channel of our Discord bot. Now before doing so, we want to go again a bit more up and say if the lava node has player, so if there's no player even being played, so if there's no music, we of course want to return. So we say if exclamation mark lava node dot has player, and we want to say I am not connected to a voice channel. If that's the case, so if there is a player, in that case we want to say var player equals await, not await, my bad, lava node dot get player, and then the context dot build. So we'll fetch the player and store it in a variable. So now what we can do is say if the voice state, not voice channel, does not equal the player, not voice channel, then we want to give an error. So we say await, reply async, and say you need to be in the same voice channel as me, and then of course return. Now if the user is in the same voice channel as the Discord bot, and there's actually a player and all that kind of stuff that we just checked, then there's one more thing that we want to check, and it is if there is even music playing, and if there are even items in the queue. So in order to do so, what we can do is say if the player dot queue dot count, so we're going to count all of the items that are in the queue. If that equals 0, which means the queue is simply empty, then we want to say await, reply async, there are no more songs in the queue. And then we want to return because there's nothing else to do. Now, let's see. If this works, of course, so if there are items in the player and if all of that stuff is all okay, then we want to say await player dot skip async. So we'll skip to the next item in the queue. And another nice thing that we can then do is, well, get the track that it will now be playing. Now, in order to do so, we can go to our browser. I have to check my amazing the documentations. It's in the autoplay samples. It's right over here. It should say, okay, so the cue is lava track. Okay, so we need to do this a bit more custom. So what we can do is, my apologies, track.title, now playing track.title. Yeah, interesting. So what we can do is we can get the first item into the queue. So what we can do is say await and then reply async, and we can say skipped, now playing, and then player dot queue, and then the first item in queue, I believe, and then that's not working, my bad, elements at, and then 0, and then the title. So we want to fetch the first item from the queue and get the title of it. I'm not sure if that's correct. I'll have to check it right now, but we have a skip command. So now playing, let's nicely format that. So we have this, so we will bold. Okay, so let's go back to our template project. Let's run it. And as you remember, we didn't close the lava link file yet. So if it's running in the background, it will work perfectly fine. So if we go back to our tutorial server, let's go to this voice channel and say join, and then say play, and then let's say lo-fi mix. But then we also want a second song. I'm gonna mute the bot. No, let's not mute it. Let's put it very low. And then let's say play summer vibes. I believe that's a mix. There we go. So now, as you can see, it will say queued and then the song. And now if we say skip, specified argument was out of range. Huh. That's interesting. So I believe instead of using the next item in the queue, we can simply say player.track.title rather than anything else. So if we now say template, let's run the template. And let's go back and say join. And then it did skip. I don't know. I don't know if it skipped. Let's make sure that it actually works. I say play summer vibes. Oh, you're correct, by the way. Before skipping, you're indeed correct. Of course, the exception was thrown here, but it did execute the skip async. So you're correct. It did skip, but it did fail to show us which track is currently playing. So let's go back to Discord and now say skip. Yes, it works. Okay. So we now have skipped and then now playing summer vibes, and it's playing our mix. Now if we play another music, so we say play lo-fi mix and then say skip, it works. So we can now skip, play and join our Discord bot. And now the final thing that we want to do is a pause command. Let's go back to the music module. Let's copy all of this. And let's create a final command, which is the pause command. And let's call it, of course, pause. And let's rename this to pause. We want to check if the user is connected to a voice channel, if there is even a player. And then we want to fetch the player. Then we want to make sure that the player is in the same voice channel as the user. And we can skip this. But instead, what we want to do is say if the player dot status, so player state equals a player state dot paused, which means that the music is already paused. And if the music is already paused, we don't want to do anything else. That's fine. We want to return an error. So it's a player dot player state equals player state dot paused, or if the player state just player dot player state equals player state dot stopped, which is basically the same as being stopped, paused, my bad. And in that case, we want to say wait, reply async, the music is already paused. And then we say return. Now, of course, we then also want a resume command, which we will do in a second. But for now, we say await player.pause async, and then we say paused music. Let's say paused the music, and we can get rid of the $sign. Of course, if you want to do it differently or with a nice embed, you can do that by yourself. But for now, let's try this. Actually, you know what? Let's also make the resume command. So let's copy this and then paste it under there and then say resume. And then the public async task should be resume. Actually, all these are just going to be exactly the same. But then instead of checking if the player is paused, we want to say if the player state is currently playing, then we want to say the music is already playing, because we don't want to resume if the player is already playing. That makes no sense. So now we say wait player dot resume async, and let me see. Then we say, of course, here we say resumed the track. And now if we start our Discord bot and we go to here and we say join general. Now we say play lo-fi mix. Let's also say play summer vibes. Oh, my internet is not being the best. Oh, please work with me. Okay, so we executed the commands. I suppose that because my internet is not the best at this moment, it's taking a bit longer, but there it is. Okay, so now playing Midnight Aura and then cue the summer vibes. Now, if we say pause, as you can hear, the music has been paused. And if we say resume, it resumed the music playback. Now, I warned you, the music playback, the sounds might be horrible right now because of my connection, but as you can see, the commands do work. And if we now use skip, it will say skipped, playing the new music. Let me pause it real quick. Now let's try pausing it again. It will say the music is already paused. Let's try resuming it. Resume it again. Exactly the error, the message that we want. Let me pause the music real quick. And now let's say skip. Now it will say there are no more songs in the queue. So those are the commands that I was asked to make, and they all work perfectly fine. Isn't that amazing? Now, we are going to get this error a bit more. It's going to say can't disconnect when client is already disconnected, but you can ignore it. It will take maybe a few seconds to go away, or you can of course press the red stop button that's normally right over here. So, okay, now if we go back to the music module, what we want to do is of course say run mode equals run mode not async. Let's copy that and let's paste it basically everywhere here. So we want to make all of these commands run asynchronously so they don't affect any other commands. And that's basically the commands for music. Now again, like I said, if you want to make something custom, there's also the ability to, for example, get the thumbnail of the track, and it's simply done by saying, for example, await track.fetch artwork async. And if you store this nicely in a variable, so for example, for thumbnail equals this, then you can, for example, send the image into a nice embed, and then you can do something nice with it. It's all up to you. You can do whatever you like. You can also add a stop command so it actually leaves. You can also implement that when using the join command, it also will, my bad, if you use the play command, it will automatically also join the channel for you. You can all do that by simply copying some code around and playing around with it. That's basically the point of it. Now, when you're done running your Discord bot, for example, if you're done coding, something you might want to do is go to Task Manager and then search, sort based upon memory, and then you'll see that lavalink.jar is taking a bit too much of our memory, and then you can just say end task and it will quit, and then you get some bit more RAM, and then you're all good. So that's the music module. Let's continue back to our Discord server. I'm gonna real quickly check our questions. Okay, thank you. Livestream, any questions? No. If you have any questions, also please ask them in the all support channel. But for now, for the live stream, please ask them in the live chat, so I get to see them quickly and I can respond quickly to your questions, which is a bit more nice. For now, let me go a bit more up. Okay, so the next question that, let me see. The next question that Zinovia had, I'm not sure if that's the name correctly said, but like she said, or he, she also asked about the .NET documentation is not always the clearest and can be a bit confusing. Could you maybe go over the syntax? Yes, of course. Let me real quick though in the background open up the stream so I can actually see the chat, otherwise it's pretty useless. All right, there we go. So, and the Discord.NET documentation. As you can see in my browser, I already opened it up earlier. Let's also start the music again. Always nice to have in the background. So, the documentation, let me put it a bit more. Oh, okay, fine. Is it okay? I'll put it as low as possible. 1. Okay, perfect. So, the documentation about Discord.NET can indeed be a bit more, well, interesting rather. So, how does the API documentation work? Good question. For example, let's search the send message async. You'll see it wasn't work. Because this documentation is made in a rather interesting way. Instead of like searching on methods, you want to search based upon where do these methods come from. For example, send message async comes from iTextChannel, which is a type, a class. So you want to go to iTextChannel. And if you open up that channel, I mean the class, you'll see all the functions that you can run inside of the iTextChannel interface. So for example, here you'll see all the inherited members, which are, for example, here, send message async, send file async, get message async. All of these things you'll find or are able to do within a channel are mentioned right over here. Now, there are also some different things that you can do. For example, properties. They all have a custom way, like they are all sorted. So if we have now this heading properties, then everything under this will be properties. So for example, a channel, like we did with the meme command in the example module, one of the properties is NSFW. You can literally see it here. Is not safe for work is one of the properties of an iText channel. And slow mode interval and topic are also some properties of a text channel. Now, in regards of methods, you can create a webhook, you can delete a message, you can delete multiple messages at once, you can get a webhook, and all that kind of stuff. So these are all functions, so methods that you can use. And if you go a bit more up, then you'll have all properties that you can use. However, why is there no title of the channel? A good question. Now, like you can see here, those are inherited members. And what it means by inherited members is that most of the things that you'll see here are actually also things that they are inherited from another type. For example, iText channel is also inherited from iGirl channel. For example, this iText channel doesn't only have an NSFW property and a slow mode interval and a topic, but if we go back to Visual Studio and we go we have a lot more properties. We have the ID, we have the guild ID, we have the guild, we have a mention, and we have the name. But if you hover over this, you'll see that it's being inherited from iChannel.name, which is actually correct, because if you look here and you see inherited members, you'll see iChannel.name. So the name of the channel is being inherited from iChannel. For example, if I will be looking at a get permissions override, so if I go back to Visual Studio and I see get permission override and I hover over that, I can see it's being inherited from the iGirl channel. Get permission. There we go. So it's being inherited from the iGirl channel. So those are also methods and properties that you can use, but they're not really from iText channel. No, they're being inherited from other, well, classes. Let's replace this again with is NSFW. So that's basically how the documentation works. It's a bit more complicated, but for example, if I were to go to Embed Builder, here again you can see a few inherited members. Now those are all not really related to Discord, they are more from C# itself, but it will also have, for example, basic usage. That's a nice thing of more common used stuff like embeds. Here we'll have a basic usage, how you can use it, and local images. Oh, that's something new. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Back in the day, we had to upload all our images to a server and then use the link of the server and then use it right over here. But now you can actually attach local images. That's amazing. So what it does is it explains some stuff about you. And here, instead of using, for example, properties and methods, now we have fields and constructors. So for example, for the fields, indeed, what you can do is you can modify all of these things. And of course, the properties, we can set the author, the color, the description, which are the things that we are all setting right over here, because that's the Embed Builder class. So it's a bit more complicated than maybe other documentations, but it just explains, well, actually everything that you can also see in Visual Studio, because this stuff that's being explaining right here gets what sets the sidebar color of an embed. If we go to Visual Studio and we hover over this, it has exactly the same description as right over there. Now, if we go to View Source, this is also interesting. It's actually getting all of these explanations from the Discord.net library. So in the documentation, there's almost nothing more that you can see than in Visual Studio itself. But there are some interesting things that you might find right over here and then put to use. But yeah, it can be difficult. There's no way around it. It's a difficult thing to understand. I also didn't really understand it when I was starting with Discord.net. I was just asking around how things worked. But if you want to use the documentation, go ahead. In some cases, there will be a basic usage, just like here. I believe if we go to iChannel, which is right over here. And no basic usage. Okay, IQ channel perhaps? No. Okay, so there are maybe a few things that do have a basic usage, but there's also a chance that they don't. But in that case, just search around on the internet or just ask in this in my support server, which is of course right over here. Now, next question. My question for the live stream would be how to create embed pagination for users to interact with. Okay, so that's how you can, for example, have those buttons under your message and then you can click around and see different pages. That's a nice subject that we can also work on. So let's minimize my browser. For now, I'm going to comment the entire music module out because I don't want to, well, have any issues. Actually, it's fine. Never mind. I'm going to keep it that way. But what we do want to do is go to the example module, and well, what we want to do is we want to use another library. We don't need to install any complicated things here. That's all fine. But what we indeed want to do is install a library, which is, let's go here, which is discord.addons.interactive. And it's made by Foxbot, the same developer that made the discord.net library. And basically the features that it has is waiting for messages over the gateway, paginated messages, reaction callbacks, a powerful criteria system. Sounds difficult. I promise you it isn't. If we go to the sample app, there are some basic things that is already programmed, which you can also see. If we go to modules and then the sample module, ReflexZ is asking, did you go over random responses? Yes, I had to go eat. What do you mean with going over random responses? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Also make sure to, if you have any questions in the live stream or want me to do, please go to the live stream channel in which you can ask me to do stuff for you. I'm going to continue. In the meanwhile, please ask your question in the hashtag livestream channel, which you can find in the Discord server. It is in the right corner bottom of my screen. So for now, what we're going to do is we want to use this library. So let's go to Visual Studio. Let's go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, Manage NuGet Packages for Solution, and then let's go and search for discord.addons.interactive. So this one, it has about 25,000 downloads. That's almost the same as Victoria, and it's called Discord.addons interactive by Foxbot. Click again on the template solution or project or whatever you called it, and then click on install. It's currently version 2.0.0. And then when you've done that, go to your program.cs and go under the add lava node. And here what you want to do is say .add singleton, because we want to use a dependency injection. They are complicated things, dependency injections. I don't really know how to explain them to you. If you want to know more about dependency injections, you can always search it up on YouTube. I'll put a link about dependency injections in the description of this live stream, or of the recording of this live stream later. But for now, we're just going to work with it. So what you want to do is inject this into your services. So we say add singleton, and then we want to inject the interactive service, which is not able to find yet, because you want to hover over the light bulb and then say using discord.addons.interactive, and then you want to use some brackets. So now it's being injected, and now you can already put it to use. Now for this, we again want to create a separate module. So let's go to modules, let's click on add, let's click on class, let's call this the interactive module. And about ReflexZ, no, I did not yet talk about random responses. If you could explain it a bit more, then please go to the live stream channel in Discord and post it right there, and I'll take a look at it. So for now, let's change this to a public class, and the interactive commands. So if you want to, for example, use the paginated response, so the buttons on the message, then what you want to do is, instead of using module-based interactive, module-based socket command context, like we did in the example module right over here, instead of doing that, we want to use the interactive base, which is, yeah, like module base, but then for interactive commands, so we can actually use some interactive commands. Now, if we go and take a look at the stuff that they did right over here, it's actually quite interesting. So, yeah, interactive base, like we did. Let's copy this real quick. I'll go over it with you. Okay, so one of the first things that you can do is, what that we need to do, is hover over the light bulb and say using discord.commands, and of course hover over task and then say using system threading tasks, just like that. Okay, so the first command is actually already explained. It says we'll send a message and asynchronously delete it after the timeout has popped. This method will not block. So what this means is, say you want to, when someone clears, like when you have a purge command on your Discord bot, you want to send a response, but it should be deleted within 10 seconds. Then you can use this custom function, reply and delete async, in order to send a message which will be deleted after some time. So let's go here, let's get rid of this and let's code it ourselves. So we say await, oh my bad, let's go a bit more back. Let's say await, reply and delete async, and then let's make a nice message. I will be deleted in 10 seconds. And then what you want to do is we want to pass in how long it should take before the message is being deleted. So say comma, and then what you want to do is, it already highlights it for me in Visual Studio. It says now that we should pass in a bool, but we want to skip ahead to timeout. So we say timeout and then a colon, just like this. And now we need to pass in a time span. So a time span is like a way of saying how many minutes something is, or how many seconds, or how many hours. It's a bit more easy than just using milliseconds. So what we can say is say new time span, and then we say from, oh my bad. Now in the brackets we can pass in how many hours, minutes or seconds this time span should be. Now 0, it will already tell you now it's ticks, but if we use a comma again, it will convert it to hours, minutes and seconds. So we say 0, 0, 10. 0 hours, 0 minutes, but 10 seconds. And then we use a semicolon. So this will send a message and then delete it by itself after 10 seconds. So let's go run this. Go to our Discord server, tutorial server. Let me leave the channel real quick and let's say delete. Okay, will be deleted in 10 seconds. So let's wait 10 seconds. Interesting. You could also use a countdown so that it updates the message telling you when it will be deleted. But as you can see, it deleted the message after 10 seconds automatically. So this is a nice function that you can use. For example, if you have a purge command or whatnot, then you can use, for example, this. The next thing that we have is next. And this is really interesting when you, for example, are going to make a quiz or something like that. Now, next message async, which is what we have right here, is allowing you to get the content of the next message. So, for example, what we did here is we say await reply async, what is 2 plus 2? And then we say var response equals await next message async. And then we can see what the user sent, and then we can say, hey, you replied this, or you did not reply before the timeout. Now, we can, within the brackets here, pass in a few arguments. Let's see which arguments we can pass. The first argument, what we have is from source user. This means, should the next message that is being read be from the previous user? So from the same user, I mean. And if you set that to false, then everyone's response will be counting. But if you set it to true, then only the next message from the same user will be read. So we're going to set that to true, but it's already on default true. The next thing you can set is you can set in source channel. So does it need to be in the same channel, or can it be in any channel in the server? And I'm going to set that to true too, which is also by default true. And next you can set the timeout, which is done in exactly the same way as over here. and I'm going to set the timeout to 10 seconds. Then we can say you replied this or you replied that, and it will do something for us. Now, another cool thing that we can do is, let's go in here, let's make some curly brackets. We can actually check the response if it's full. So if the response is not null, and if the response dot content equals 4, then it should say correct, the answer was 4. But if you didn't, if you replied something else other than 4, then we say reply async, oh my bad, reply async wrong, the answer was 4. So we're also going to check what the user replied. So now let's run this code, go back to Discord and say next, and it's going to ask us what is 2 plus 2. I'm going to say 3. It's going to say wrong, the answer was 4, which is correct. The answer should be 4. So if we use the command again and we now say 4, it will say correct, the answer was 4. And the final thing that we can test is what happens if we wait longer than 10 seconds, which is actually the timeout that we set. So if we wait 10 seconds, then it's going to say you did not reply before the timeout, which is correct. We didn't reply within the timeout that was specified, so we failed, and yeah, that's not good. So it's working perfectly fine. It's working like it should. So now it reads the next message, and you can of course customize this. You can do this forever. You could, for example, say use the next message async again. Like if I were to say a var second response, or even you could say a response equals await and next message async. So you could even test what the method or what the content of the message is after this response. You can keep doing this like an infinite amount long. You can just keep doing it. That's fine. It's all up to you, and it's pretty nice. But for now, I'm not going to do that. But if you want to use a loop, so constantly get a different response, that you can just use this. You can keep saying await next message async. And also, of course, make sure that you're using run mode equals run mode.async, and well, you should. Now, before continuing, let me go to the GitHub repository. Let me copy this link, and I'll post it for you guys in the chat, so you guys can also copy the code yourselves. Please tell me the quality is a bit better than this. Yes, it is. Okay, amazing. So, if we go back here, and the final thing that we wanted is actually paginator, which was the entire reason that we're even doing this. So we want a message that changes when someone presses like arrows under the message. And the perfect thing for that is paginator. Now, it also has an explanation right over here. It says page reply async will send a paginated message to the channel. You can customize the paginator by creating a paginated message object. You can customize the criteria for the paginator as well, which defaults to restricting to the source user. This method will not block. Now, what this person means with this method does not block is basically meaning that you don't need to use run mode equals run mode.async, because it's done in a way that it won't block any other commands from running. So this is fine. Now, as you can see, it already has a few pages right here. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 5. So let's make this some custom stuff. For example, I was asked to make this for a help command. So like, hey, how can we do this for a help command? We can, for example, say help and \n, and then let's say prefix, and say help, show the help command. And you can add some commands to yourself. You can also automate this, but I'm just going to use it to showcase how this works. Let me copy this a few times, page 2, and then we're going to say prefix view, or change the prefix. Then we have page 3, and here we're going to have the ping, get the current latency. And I'm going to get rid of page 4 and page 5. You can, again, I believe you can add as many as 12 pages perhaps even an infinite amount of pages. I'm not sure. You can test it out if you like. I'm not going to, but you can. So what we do, oh yeah, of course, let me explain this. What we have is a array of strings. So an array of strings is basically this. This is 1, 2, 3. So you have three strings in a list of multiple strings. So when you have one string, that's just a string. But when you have multiple strings into one variable, you want to have an array of strings. And that's exactly what we have right here. Next, what we say is we say await page reply async and then pages. Now, if we run this, this is quite basic. We can also modify this, but for now, if you run this and go to here and then say a paginator, it's going to send you a message with those nice arrows. It's taking a bit of time to add directions, but that is probably because of my internet or the Discord API. I'm not sure. But for now, as you can see, it has a custom embedded put around it, and then it has some text in it with the help. And now if I press this arrow to the right key, it's going to page 2. And if I press it again, it's going to page 3. So it's in the same order as right here. First help, then prefix, then ping. So if I go back here, ping, prefix, and then help. And of course the other way around. Now, a nice thing that you can also do is you can skip ahead to the last page like that, or skip ahead back to the first page. You can also click this guy over here, and then it will do, I don't know, it won't do anything interesting. But if you click on, for example, this stop button, then it will stop the paginator and it will delete itself. And if I run this command again, let's go. Did Discord just crash? I am not sure what it's doing. Let me refresh Discord real quick. That was interesting. Okay, back. Okay, so paginator. And now if we run this command again, it's rather slow. Okay. If we click on the info command, you can also customize this message. It will say this is a paginator, react with the respective icons to change page. Now, if we close this, and then let me close the console. As I said, you can customize this paged reply async by your own custom paginator. Now, how to do this? Okay, there it is. So what we can do is we can say var, no, my bad, paginated message, and then let's say paginated message equals a new paginated message. I'm doing this just because of some on top of my head, so I'm not sure if this is going to work. So paginated message equals a new paginated message. And in here, what we want to do is we can have some different things. We can adjust the color. The 1, 2, 3, 4 is asking for users to type what page to view. Oh, okay, that's interesting, Mika. I did not know that. So you can actually type when clicking that icon right over here. You can type a number of a page and we'll skip ahead to it. Thank you, Mika, for the response. I did not know that. It's pretty cool. So what we can do is you can adjust the color, the content, the alternate description, the author, the options, the pages, and the title. So let's copy this, Ctrl X to cut it, paste it above here. And let's put the pages to pages. So we at least have those pages. And then let's use this. And then the next thing that we want to adjust is let's adjust the options, because I have no idea what we can adjust over here. Options, paginated appearance options. Okay, interesting. So we can say options equals new paginated appearance options. I believe we can again. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, we can set a lot of properties over here. Okay, so what you can do here is you can modify the icons that are being used in the embed. For example, you can adjust the info icon, which is used right here. You can modify that to your liking, and you can change it. That's quite some stuff. What is something we can adjust to make it a bit more working? Okay, the information text. So the text that appears when you click on the info icon. Currently it says this. Instead of that, let's use this is a test, and then let's use a, just like that. I'm not sure if this will work. Oh, it does. Okay, great. And then of course here, semicolon. So, then again, a comma, my bad. So now we have pages and options. Now the other thing that we can adjust is the color. So we can adjust the color of the embed. Currently it's just black, but we can adjust that to any color that we like. So the color is equals new color. And well, let's go to our example module and copy the color of the meme command, just like that. So we have a nice color. And another thing that you can indeed adjust is the title, which can simply be done by saying title equals, and then let's say my nice interactive paginator. So we adjusted a couple of things, and of course what you don't want to forget is instead of page reply async pages, we want to use page reply async paginated message. So it's actually going to use our custom stuff that we all passed in. Let's run this code and let's go to the paginator. So paginator. And as you can see, the color is different. We have this nice blue color that was the same as our Reddit commands, which you can see right over here. It's pretty nice. And of course we have the title, my nice interactive paginator, which is quite nice. And if we click the info icon, we now have this as a test rather than this. So this is pretty cool. You customize it completely. And if we now click this, I'm actually wondering if this works. If I press 2, okay, that's pretty cool. So this works. We can customize everything right over here. You can also adjust some custom values. You could, for example, what else do we have? Content can be adjusted, alternate description. So I believe that's text that it will put before the pages. And the alter can be adjusted. So like, put some nice stuff here. You can adjust that right to your liking. And let's also test this. We have another thing that we can adjust here is the info icon and even the info timeout. So in order to change the icons, what you want to do is you want to pass in a Discord emote. Now, how does that work? You want to say new, oh no, my bad, emote dot pass, and then you can use, for example, the emote formatting from Discord in order to paste an emote right there. So what we're going to do, let's go. You want to use, of course, emotes that the bot can also use. So let's go here. What is a nice thing that we can quickly use? Let's just use a football. Who cares, really? So you want to use a backslash, and then it will show you exactly how it's used. So those and soccer, and again those, and then enter, it will send you this football. Now if we go back here and then paste it like that, it will work. So if we now run this code and then go to Discord and then now use the paginator and then wait a nice few, oh, okay, invalid emo format. Okay, so I did it the wrong way. It doesn't work. Let's see what it wants. Pass an emote as raw content. So the wrong coding of an emote, okay, my bad. We can also use, I believe that in that case, what we want to do is you want to give any emoji that you like and to put a backslash before it, enter, and then copy the Unicode version of the emote. I believe it's that way. I'm not sure, but it might be that way. So now if we go back and then use paginator, please work. No, doesn't work. That's rather interesting. Emoji perhaps instead of emote. No, it is emote, but I can try it. Emoji, string Unicode, this way. Ah, it might actually work, Mika. I'm not sure. Let's try it. And now paginator. Well, Mika, you are interesting. You fixed it. Nice. So Yes, it actually works. So as you can see, the info emoji is now being replaced with the soccer icon. And now if you press the soccer icon, it will display our custom message. Thank you, Mika, for the solution. So instead of what you want to do is use new emoji and then the Unicode character of the emoji. So if I go back here and if I select any icon, any emoji that I like, so let's go back here, any emoji that I like, use a backslash before it, and then copy this, go right over here and then just replace it with the football, and then run the code, and then go back here and say paginator, then it will use the fist rather than the football, just as you can see right over here. Perfect. So you can customize any other properties that you like. I am getting frustrated by the error message, but sorry, you can adjust this, all those icons that you like. You can also adjust, let's see, the back icon, the first icon. You can adjust anything basically. That's all up to you. But that's it for the paginator. And if you want to use it, you can just simply use all of this. You can customize the color, the pages, anything you like. So yeah, good luck. Now we can move on to the next thing. Let's go back up. Okay, so I would love to know about reaction pinging and bot now playing status. So the first thing that she wants to know is basically selects a reaction on a message and it pings all the people who have reacted to it with a message in say like #general of the server. Okay, let's go to tutorial and let's go back to Visual Studio. So basically what we want to do is when someone presses the checkmark icon, it sends a message pinging that person in the general channel. Okay, let's go to the command handler. And what we want to do here is go to _client dot reaction edit plus equals on reaction edit. So we're now searching, we're binding this event to this method. Let's generate the method for us. Also, is my microphone clearly in regards of my voice? Can you hear me? Please let me know in the chat. So now let's go here and actually we can copy this from our onReactionEdit function that we used earlier in episode 5, I believe, working with events. So let's go to our browser. Let's go to my repositories. And you want to go to DNBDS GitHub repository. So copy, I'm going to copy the link for you and paste it right. Pretty crisp. In a good way or a bad way? So copy the link from GitHub, my bad, and then open it up in your browser. And then what you want to do is go to the template project and then the services and then the command handler. Then you want to click on history and you want to go to episode 5 and then you want to copy this code. I'm just going to paste it in the Livestream channel. It's making things easier. Okay, good. My microphone is apparently nice. I like that. Okay, so paste the code right over here. You want to copy this and then paste it into Visual Studio right over here. So instead of this, so filtering the message ID, you can do this. So let's go to the tutorial server and let's say click on the reply with check mark on this message, please. So let's copy the message ID of this. So previously someone had issues with copying the message ID and it showed up quite weird. So if you have any issues with copy ID or don't really like developer mode and didn't enable this option, you can also copy the message link. And then if you paste it right over here, the last number that you see is actually the message ID. For example, if I were to go here, click copy ID, you'll see that these two numbers are exactly the same because they're both the ID of the message. So that's another way of copying the message ID. Now let's go back to Visual Studio, paste it right here. And like I did previously, we already checked if it was a check mark, so you can just do it that way. So arc3.emote.name. If it doesn't equal the check mark, return. You don't want to do anything with it in that case. But if it is the case, then instead of adding a role to that person, what we want to do is we want to say var channel equals context.guild. Oh, we don't have a context, my bad. We have arc2 as iText channel. So let's put it as an iText channel and then go to the guild. And then we want to say get text channel async. And let's copy the general ID, so the ID of your channel that you like. I am sorry I didn't define it in detail, but what I meant was to send a command to ping the people instead of pinging every time. What if it was to send a command to ping the people instead of pinging every time? So ping the people that replied with the emoji, or some other way. Please reply in the chat so I can understand what you mean. There's also a delay, so it might take a few seconds before you actually hear me say what I'm saying right now. Yes, okay, we can work. That's fine. That was actually what I was going to do. So var channel equals, and we want to await this. We want to actually await for the response because this is an asynchronous function. And when you run something asynchronously, you want to wait for the response. So we say await, and then we use this. So now we fetch the general channel for this. Now, what we can do is we can say await and channel.send message async. And what we want to do here is say arc3 dot let's see what we have here. User arc3.user dot mention value dot mention, and then let's put that in a string. So a $, a string, a curly bracket. So let's put curly brackets around it, and then say replied with the, and then the check mark right over there, and then we finish the string just like that. And now it will send us a message when the user actually responded. Now, before continuing, on the 7th of October, Discord implemented some changes to their API. And in order to make this work properly, you want to go to your browser, go to Discord Developers Applications. You want to go to your Discord bot. I have many. Go to Tutorial Bot. And you want to go to Bot, the bot section. And you want to enable a presence intent and server members intent. So enable these two options, and that is a pretty new thing. You can read more about it right over here in this article. I linked it in some previous episodes too. It's about, well, it's about those events when we fetch some data and we need to use these intents, the privileged intents from Discord, enabled to actually use this stuff. So make sure to enable those, and then we can run our Discord bot. So if I were to reply to this message with a check mark, it will ping me in the general channel and say directoire replied with the check mark. So that means that it works. And for example, if you want to adjust this to, I don't know, multiple messages, you could of course multiple times check the message ID right over here. And I hope to have answered your question by that, Mika. I'll post this code in the live stream channel as well. So answer to Mika, and then I'll post it right over here. So you can copy this if you like, and then you can use it by your own, and that should work. As you can see. Nice, thank you. All right, nice. Next thing that we wanted to do is a bot now playing status. Configuring automated now playing of the bot, for example, active in 20 servers. That's a good question. So basically what we want to implement is a function that shows in the status how many servers we are, for example, in. And this again involves an event. So what we can do is we can say underscore client dot joined guild plus equals on joined guild, and underscore client dot guild left, or left guild, yeah, left guild plus equals on left guild. So you want to update the game or the activity of your Discord bot when you join the guild, so when the bot joins the server, or when it leaves the server. So make methods for both, just generate methods. And what you want to do in here is say await underscore client dot set, let's see, set game async, and then we're going to use a string, have a string in it, and let's finish with a semicolon. Now, the thing that we want to fetch is the amount of servers that we're in. And in order to do so, we first want to get that count. We don't know how many servers we're in. We want to calculate that. So a simple way of doing this, and actually this is already in the client. We don't need to do any calculations. Nice. I was going in the way how you can calculate how many members your bot is serving, which involves going over all servers and that kind of stuff. But we don't need to do this. So we could say client set game async, and then we can say underscore client dot guilds dot count, and this will tell you how many servers you're in. And then you can say playing in, so we're going to say in and then that many servers, and the stream URL is going to be null, and the activity type is going to be activity type but playing. And we of course want to make this function async. So now when the bot joins the server, it will update the activity of the Discord bot and then change it into playing in that many servers. You can also change this to watching, for example, watching over and then that many servers. So let's do it this way, watching over servers. And we're going to copy this code, paste it right over there, and then make this function async too. So now it will update when our bot joins a server or leaves a server. Pretty interesting. So what we can do is, for example, we have our tutorial bot right over there. Let's run our Discord bot. And let's go to our browser, OAuth2. Let's create the link. Now if we copy this, and for example, you can see that it currently doesn't have a status. But if I add this bot to our Discord.NET Bot Development Series server, and then do it like this, you'll see that it's now saying watching over 2 servers. And it's also in the Discord.NET Bot Development server. So as you can see, it now says watching over 2 servers, which is exactly what we wanted to configure. So that's working pretty nicely. So now if we go in the test server, my bad, if we just kick the bot, so it's currently saying watching over 2 servers, but if we kick the Discord bot and we go back to the tutorial server, it will now say watching over 1 servers. So, well, there you go. Pretty interesting and short answer to that, because it's a pretty nice thing to do. A pretty nice way of showing your Discord statistics. And I'll also post this code into our Discord server. I'll just copy this line. It's quite easy. So what you need to do is bind it to an event and then make these 2 functions and then exactly run this, which will update it to whatever you like. So very cool. Yes, indeed. I'll post it again in the channel. There we go. And that's basically it. The next question is it possible to ask one more question? You can ask as many questions as you like, in fact. What is request options and how to use it? I've already read the docs, but I still don't know how to use it. So request options is an interesting thing. What it basically means is it allows you to customize a bit more about your message, for example. So if we go here and let's go to those request options, so options, and then what you want to do, just for this purpose, you don't need to do this, but you can do this if you like to experiment. So you say options, new request options, and then curly brackets, and one more. In here you can customize 5 things. You can adjust the cancel token, use system clock, audit log reason, retry mode, and timeout. So first thing, cancel token, not really interesting. You don't really need to know what it means. It's not something you're going to use. The second thing is use system clock, which basically means, for example, if you have an unstable operating system, which just doesn't really have a good clock. For example, I have Windows. 10 and it has this clock, you know, I can see the time. But if you have an operating system that doesn't really have a good clock, and you're going to need a good clock in order to measure, for example, we have rate limits in Discord. If you send too many messages at the same time, it will tell you like, hey, wait a few seconds, please cool down. Now the same goes for Discord bots. However, it will tell the Discord.net library how long you need to wait. And for example, if that is, let's say 10 seconds, and your Windows or your operating system is not capable of calculating 10 seconds, then that might be causing errors. So you could disable this, but by default it's actually enabled. Just don't modify it, it's fine. The other thing that you can adjust is the audit log reason. And this is interesting. If we go to Discord and go to server settings and then the audit log, and let me quickly, let's see, I'll disable studio mode real quick and then go to server settings and then the audit log. Now if you go and take a look here, when Dino does something, it will say with reason and then Dino auto roll. You can see it constantly gives a reason why it's doing it. And when I do something, I don't really provide any reason, you see. It doesn't say with reason, no, it just does it. But for Discord bots, sometimes it's nice to tell your audit log why you're doing this. I'm not sure if anyone reads the audit log. It's quite possible you don't. I don't either. But if you want to have or pass a reason for why you're doing this, you could simply use audit log reason equals this is a reason, and then it will pass it along with the request and put it inside of the audit log. It's pretty straightforward. Now the next thing is retry mode, and this is basically when something goes wrong when sending it to the Discord API. You could change your retry mode. Again, it's not something you want to change. And the timeout, which is how long a Discord will try to wait before throwing an error. For example, if something goes wrong, and currently this is being set to 15 seconds. So for example, if you have a very bad internet connection, or if Discord API is doing something bad, it will take up to 15 seconds before Discord will let you know, Discord.net will let you know like, hey, Discord API is broken, please fix it or just wait. And that's also something you can adjust, but not really needed. 15 seconds is pretty good, and it's also the default. So default things in regards of request options are probably the best things to stick around with. You don't really need to adjust those. So that's basically it about request options. Now, if you do want to adjust those values, which I would not necessarily recommend, but I can understand if you want to change those. If you do want to change those, what you can do is you can go into your program.cs and then go to the socket config. So configure Discord host, which we have right here. And here you can adjust these things too. For example, if I were to say a retry mode, default retry mode, I can adjust that. If I want to change the connection timeout or the handler timeout, I can do that. If I perhaps even, no, the audit log not, that's pretty straightforward. But if you want to change these things, like in the Discord socket config, you can all modify those request options by yourself. So that's all up to you. So let's go get rid of this line. So that's basically it about request options. It's pretty simple, but not something you're going to need probably. Okay, the next question is, how do we make the bot answer a command with a random response? And this is from Reflexy. I suppose that you just want to define some answers or some answers in a command and then just reply randomly. I don't know, something like that. If I'm correct, please say that in chat, so I'll continue coding how that would work, and I'll explain it to you. If not, then please explain a bit more what you would like to see. I'm not seeing anything in the chat yet. But there's also this amazing delay. Let me explain it a bit. Go ahead, please. I think you mean like you have a specific list of responses that you have, and then it will pick a random item from that list and then put it into, well, a reply to a channel. But I'm not sure. I'm waiting for Reflexi's answer. Yeah, okay, so a given amount of responses and then the bot will pick a random response. Okay, I got it. So let's go here, create a new command, let's call it random, and then say public async task random, and then let's make a list of random responses. So we say int array responses equals a new array, and then say first response, second response, and third response. So we have multiple, oh my bad, not an int array, a string array. So we have multiple random answers that we want to give to the user. Now what we can do is we can say await reply async responses and new random, and then we want to pick a random between 0 and responses.count. Now I went over that pretty quickly, and what I basically mean, and this is a function, my bad, what I basically did is I made a string array, so a list of multiple strings which you can use, and then I pick a random one of it right over here and send it to the channel. So we have a list of multiple strings, and then we use await reply async, and then we go into the responses, so this list that we made here, and we want to pick a random position of this string in this array. So for that we use new random next 0, so it should pick a number between 0 and the total amount of responses, which is 3. So we'll pick one between 0 and 2, because that's my bad, but that's how numbers work in C#. We start counting at 0 rather than at 1, so it will pick a number between 0 and 2. Now if we run this code and go to our tutorial server and use the random command, third response. Now if we use it again, third response, okay, first response, and second response. I hope that satisfies your answer. It's a really quick answer, but I hope that satisfies your question. And I'll also post this code into the Livestream text channel. I'll post it right over here, so you'll have it. And I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please explain what else you'd like to see. Yep, it did. Thank you so much. No problem, Reflexi. I'm happy that it answered your question. It would be nice if we add the function of playing music or YouTube videos with the bot, which is something we did earlier in the stream. So if you didn't see that yet, please rewatch the stream when it's available. And then we have, if the parameter for command is a mention of someone, how would it go about checking if it's an actual mention if the person mentioned is on the server? Okay, now that's interesting. When we, for example, use this mentioning stuff for the user command, which I don't have right now, but for example, when we did that, we asked for a socket guild user, which is someone in the server. So if you would mention, I could, for example, go to the C# server, copy ID of the first person I see, and then, for example, paste it right here, which would give me the mention of this person without the bot even being able to find that person. But if I would use this argument, it will not be a socket guild user. It will just be something that's not a socket guild user. So the bot will actually throw an error, and I believe that error will be, I don't know. It will probably be that the socket user wasn't found but it will error. So you don't really need to check this. Discord will already do this for you. And that was it for the live stream. Now the timestamps will be in the description of this video, and I will also post any relevant links that were posted in the live chat throughout the episode. So you don't need to worry about missing anything. The links will be in the description, including the timestamps. And if you've enjoyed this live stream, please leave a like. And if you have any questions, then join our Discord server and I'll be happy to help you. Have a nice day.